Hello and welcome to week 7, day 2 of the LPL. Today we've got LGD taking on OMG. I am Stan Greyhart Barker and I'm delighted to be joined by Alex Bliss Stinson.
Hello Greyhart, hello audience. This is a really good day. Today we're gonna be casting LGD and OMG, and these are two teams that are pretty much at the middle of the pack of their own groups. They're basically a little bit below that, so right now, with both teams, with every team in the LPL having a total of 19 games in their disposal for the main season, they're running out of time to qualify for the playoffs.
Both these teams currently drifting slightly afoot at 6th place in Group A and Group B respectively. They really need to start getting onto winning ways if they have any hope of hitting those top 4 playoff spots.
And this is really where the cross-group matches become interesting, because right here LGD and OMG can do really well and advance into their own groups, while their competition could be doing really bad versus the teams of the enemy group. So right here anything can happen. There's nothing we can predict. There are a lot of possibilities coming through. Let's take a quick look at the bans and the picks. Varus, Cassiopeia and Sion, no surprise there. And Camille with Tamkens and Olaf, pretty much standard bans.
Yeah, and we've already got our first picks out of the way. We've got the Galio, Ezreal and Fiora locked in for LGD, while OMG pick up Alistar, Skarner and Gnar.
It's one of the few times we're going to be seeing Olaf as one of the first bans. Of course, this is the first time we're going to be casting LPL games in 8.4 patch. It had a little bit of a time to advance and actually catch up with the rest of the leagues, but here it is, 8.4 with the broken banner. And what else? I think right here the most important change has been around the bot lane items and Zoe being very weak again.
So Zoe has been gutted, and something else that has been gutted is Amy's hopes of playing Jarvan in this game. The Jarvan banned out by OMG. We see Rise taken away by LGD. Just the 2 bans left to come through, Bliss.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, since Galio has been allowed to be first picked. With the Olaf ban, of course, he remained open and they took it. LGD are making sure they're increasing their winning chances with that Galio pick, and right now they have to take Rise away. I wouldn't be surprised if they took away Corki too, because Cassiopeia and Corki are one of the best, they're pretty much the best opponents against Galio in the mid lane. And Kha'Zix, Jarvan, the bans of OMG make sense, since they are the bullies that can actually take Skarner out of his early jungling paths and destroy his potential good mid game.
Well, Bliss, you might be disappointed in LGD's banning then, because Talia was the final ban coming out of LGD. They do not take the Corki away, and now we see OMG having a little look. Are they going to be counter-picking this mid laner and leaving their ADC? That's exactly what they do as Vladimir locks in.
That's a really interesting pickup, because when you're playing against Galio, you need one of the two things. You either need to bully the Galio out of his lane, you need to basically burst him, abuse attack damage, or you need to shove him into his own tower. Talia is actually one of the champions that can do that, and that's the reason we do see LGD banning it away, because they're afraid of the strong shove in the mid lane and the inability of Galio to follow his own jungler in the enemy jungle.
So Bliss, LGD lock in a couple of glacial ults. The Glacial Prison, the Glacial Fissure, Braum and Sejuani are representing on the rift for LGD. The final lock-in for OMG is that Tristana.
LGD is definitely not lacking the crowd control output right here with Sejuani, Galio and Braum. There's a lot of crowd control. The thing is, they have 100% physical attack damage with Ezreal and Fiora. That's their damage output. It's 100% physical, especially if we do see Galio going for that more tanky way. And when it comes to that, Vladimir really shines. Vladimir is really strong in the late game versus Fiora and Ezreal in those team fights, with the only threat upon OMG in the full late game will be the split push of a Fiora, which of course can be paired with Gnar.
So only a few less seconds left until the game loads onto the Rift. We see the players' concentration faces are well and truly on, Bliss.
Well, LGD and OMG, they have been going through a very shaky season, but it's not over. Right here, anything can happen. They still have enough time to barely qualify for the playoffs, and if they do that, they can do anything.
Acorn steps off the stage, hopeful that he has drafted a winning composition for LGD. The coaches have now done all that they can do. Well, they've got one more thing they can do, Bliss, and that's hope. Hope that their teams get back to winning ways.
I'm really interested to see exactly what OMG are looking to play in this game, because right here, there seems to be a compositional mistake from the team of LGD. They seem to have created a disadvantage on their own when it comes to their lack of magic damage, and if they shut down Galio, who seems to be the playmaker of LGD with that, because he has that global presence, then I do not think LGD can actually scale safely into mid and late game. If OMG can take advantage of that, I think we're gonna see a very fast game one.
We sweep through the Rift. The crowd, who are comfortable in their chairs in the arena, give us a massive shout out as we see the players start to dance around the Rift. It looks like we're going to see fairly protective starts with the teams just checking out the edges of their jungle.
Alrighty, so it's going to be double dematerializers for the team of OMG for both Icon and 5. And on top of that, Chelly.
So
he was forced to start with a jump.
Yeah, I don't really want to take that rocket jump on Tristana early on, but with the concussive blows landing, we see that Chelly has to get out of there as quickly as possible. Kleptomancy picked up for Ezreal, and just by landing a couple of strikes, has already got himself some extra gold.
Yeah, and we're also going to see the aftershock in the mid lane for Yuki, which makes sense, but of course the magic damage that he will be able to apply and offer to his own team in the early stages of the game is not going to be as good. So let's take a quick look in the early game and what's going on right here. Tristana and Alistar versus Ezreal and Braum should be a pretty even lane without too much aggression, unless we do see FDY and PYL overextend and giving Chelly free jumps. If we take that out of the consideration, I do think we're going to see a pretty passive game with scaling in both middle and bot lane, with top lane actually being the most explosive one.
Alrighty, let's look towards that lane and see just where our first few kills, our first gank action is going to come out. People who are familiar with Skarner won't be surprised to see he's picked up that Predator Rune, Bliss, but World 6 playing a champion here who hasn't really been at the forefront of the meta for a while.
And yeah, despite the fact that the Predator Rune for Skarner will be very punishing, I do think that Skarner is actually one of the best junglers in 8.4, and it has really shown since he has been preferred by a lot of teams as even probably as a first pick. So right here, I want to reassess what we already discussed about. We have a Gnar and a Skarner that will be applying a tremendously strong front line for the team of OMG. And on the same note, Icon has actually opted to play for the Spell Thief Zeds. Despite it being nerfed for solo lanes, he chose to go with it, and a lot of competitive players have also kept building it just because of the power and the safety it provides to early game champions that are not very good.
Absolutely, and at the end of the day, Bliss, vision still wins games, and having the ability to get some extra vision on coming out of your mid lane, it could be vital as we get later and later into the game.
So Icon is basically trading right here with Yuki, and he is gonna win most of the trades just because of his ability to sustain through. The question right here is, since the Infernal has spawned as the first dragon, how are we gonna see Amy and World 6 rotate and move around that dragon? Right here, the shrines are gonna be very important to how the junglers move in the game.
And here we go, World 6 looking to try and land a stun onto Yuki. There's the taunt, that's the stun coming through. No follow coming from Icon in the mid lane just now, so it's going to be Yuki taking a little bit of damage as Skarner backs away. Unsurprisingly, due to that Infernal Dragon, we do see both junglers playing around the bot side of the map.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's actually the vision control of OMG that surprises me. I think that's way too much vision for this early stage of the game, and despite giving you a lot of confidence, you don't really get a lot of rewards because of your investment. So I'm really shaky about this decision.
Speaking of playing with confidence, both Icon and Shelly are getting themselves a small CS lead over their respective lane opponents. Icon having a much better time of it than the Galio with the early farming.
39 CS already. On the bot side, Shelly has been able to gain that priority, and with the bottom side of the jungle being empty for Amy, right here LGD should not really be waiting for a gank from Messiah Amy. They're not gonna see any ganks or any help until that bot side of the jungle responds. And of course, Infernal Drake will be in danger too, since they're not able to work there or actually contest it in case of a 3-man attendant.
Bliss with 8.4 hitting the LPL now. Are we still looking at Ezreal trying to pick up that early tier? Will it be difficult for him to get an early recall with the amount of pressure Shelly's putting down?
Basically, you need that tier as fast as possible. You need that 70-50 recall for the fast tier, right back in lane, and after that, keep stacking it. Right here, what OMG want to do is basically they want to keep him under tower, force him. Oh, 1-6.
Icon ate a taunt, took a lot of damage, but the flash already forced out of Yuki. Here comes Amy looking for the counter gank. The winds of war are going to hit onto Icon, but no massive amount of damage going to rain down from those winds today. It's just going to be a nice even trade in the end, but Yuki loses flash.
Yes, and that flash is going to be really bad when it comes to being punished, because he just lost it right before World 6 hits level 6. Of course, we discussed about how punishing mid lane camp will be for the team of LGD if that happens by World 6, and having that flash burned when World 6 is almost level 6 means that he can even possibly gank twice with that Impale before that flash is back up.
Skarner hasn't got the boots just yet, so... sorry, do I stand corrected? That is indeed the boots with the Predator greyed out at the moment, so he's obviously popped that one in the not too distant past, probably in that mid lane gank. So he has already got the option to get the Predator, get the fast ganks going in, looking for that early level 6 Impale as soon as we see World 6 hitting a level 6.
Yet again, we do see that remnant of the Watchers in the mid lane. This has been a worrying trend, especially in the LPL. We have seen Karma players go for the Remnant. Now we do see Icon with the Vladimir go for the Remnant. And of course it's going to take quite some time for it to be stacked, but right now he's generating a lot of gold. All of the stats it offers to him are pretty good with the ability power and the EHP, but most importantly, what percentage of your early game are you sacrificing just for that Remnant, and how slot effective is it going to be when you need to pop off in the late game?
It certainly feels like the kill pressure is gone, and maybe this is why we see the unsealed spellbook Vlad just with the teleport at the moment.
It's definitely something new. Let's see how it works out. OMG are going for a slight invade just for vision. Oh, there's a flash.
Alright, there's the Impale being channeled onto Yuki. He has no flash available. The Chilling Smite comes down, attempting to use the heroic entrance to try and get out of trouble, but he's going lower and lower. First Blood will go over to Icon. No damage, no trouble at all. Vladimir picks up First Blood.
This is the recipe for a successful early game. Right here, they do apply all of their pressure to the one champion in the game that doesn't have flash. They apply their pressure onto Yuki, who has that global control with his hero's entrance. So any other target they would choose, they would have the backup of Yuki. But if they choose to go for the Yuki camp, there's absolutely no one that can help him, and he doesn't really have the mobility against the Skarner to go away, because even his dash is going to get blocked by the Scorpion King, and in the end, they do get an Infernal Drake on top of that as a reward.
I mean, that is a massive win for the side of OGD, who now find themselves 500 gold up, basically that first gold blood, but all the extra stats coming out Infernal are massive for this team.
We do still have 2 more minutes until the flash is back up from Yuki, and the Impale will be ready in about 30 seconds. Do you think we're going to see a repetition of what happened in the mid lane? Because The vision certainly allows that.
I think there's a decent chance of it, and I think that we also just saw Amy accidentally taking blue away from Yuki, who didn't quite manage to get the last tick of damage with the Winds of War.
I wouldn't think it's too important right now, since Yuki is really not hitting too many of his own power spikes. I think that red buff steal is more important. If it's successful, it is, but yeah, World 6 was aggressively moving towards there, but turns out he is very careful of Fiora's whereabouts. Xenu is right there. Oh,
there's the Glacial Prison.
almost.
It's not going to land on the World 6, but here's the slow.
Flash
Fiora
in.
comes in. Here comes the Galio. Here comes PYL on the
triple!
Brawn. The Glacial Fissure is good, and that's going to be Yuki picking up a kill onto World 6. This fight is still breaking out, though, and it looks like it's going in favour of OMG, who pick up their second kill onto Yuki. This one goes over onto 5. So far, the 1-for-1, and it is a fairly even trade, and we're still looking at the 500 gold lead. Most importantly, though, that is a kill onto Yuki, despite him giving up his life in return.
It is a 1-for-1, but they do play on their game
Look at Amy.
winning condition. World 6 gets initiated on. That Glacial Prison does not really get a lot of value. And after Yuki goes in, triple knockup, and just look at him go down. Yet again, Yuki is gonna be the target of the team of OMG, and despite them losing World 6, he did exactly what was expected of him. He applied pressure onto Yuki, and his 2 deaths 10 minutes in.
And why would Yuki not be the target, Bliss? I mean, you talked about it yourself. Will OMG try to make the most of there not being a flash? Well, they see one target in there who can't escape. Of course they're going to focus him down. Of course he's going to drop. And Amy's looking for a gank in the top lane. Xiang is trying to get himself away. He has managed to take Janu quite low, and the teleport is coming in to back up the Gnar. Will we see the cancel? Yes, and that is Vlad, who is now going to be having a slightly reduced summoner spell cooldown on his teleport, deciding not to follow in on this particular engage.
To be quite honest, right here, Greyhart, hands off. Not very happy about how it's going. I think we do have a pause.
It certainly does seem like we've got a pause. It gives us plenty of opportunity to look at what's going on in the game so far, Bliss. So we do see OMG with that small gold lead. They've picked up a couple of kills. How do you see this affecting the way the game plays out from here?
Basically, right here, OMG are playing on their win condition. They are shutting down Yuki. They know that even if that doesn't give them back too many objectives, if they don't get control of the map, doesn't matter, because they're shutting down the sole magic damage output of LGD. And if that happens, when they get some power spikes, when they get those ninja tabis, when they get their core armor items, it's going to be really hard for LGD to win those team fights. So basically OMG are playing on their win condition. They're applying pressure to the mid lane, and if they get that mid lane tower as a result of that pressure, then the half of the map that belongs to LGD is going to be split in two, and it's going to be really hard to regain control after that against a solver like Vladimir.
Bliss, it feels like you called it in Champ Select. You said, hey, there's a lack of this damage. If we see the Galio building tanky, then where's the AP going to come for the side of LGD? Well, I feel like Galio's going to have to build even tankier now. He finds himself 1-2-0 in lane, having given away both the deaths his team has passed on over to OMG. The tankier build comes in for the Galio. The magic damage is negated as we find ourselves back in game.
That was a quick one. Very satisfied with our comeback. That was a pretty quick comeback. I have seen some poses tear away casters like us.
Well, there we go. We get through the pause and we find the as we join back into the game that both the mid lane and ADC of OMG still have those strong CS leads.
Well, the funny thing about this particular game, Greyhart, is the fact that if what we saw in the previous fight happened 10 minutes later, Yuki would not be a really good target. He would not be able to go down, and even if he did, he would buy enough time for his own team to retaliate and actually win the fight. So right here, OMG understand how they're playing against time when it comes to Galio. He's not always going to be a viable target, and as long as he is one, they're taking maximum advantage of it.
LGD take their first objective of the game in that Herald, and with no first turret blood on the map just yet, that is a possibility for LGD to use to try and get the gold all leveled out again.
I love Five's decision to actually keep on 4 of the dematerializers since we're playing on Super Banner Baron Cannon patch, but oh, Ziyang actually wants some blood.
World 6 was stepping up the river, and I believe that Jinnu had a little look and went, Zhang, you're playing awful aggressive for a Gnar against a Fiora who can issue a grand challenge. Decides the Skarner must be present, backs away. This is going to mean a decent bit of damage coming down on the top lane turret though.
This is of vital importance for the team of OMG right here. World 6 positioning in the top side of the jungle, while there's no vision on top of him, makes both top lane and mid lane worry. That means that Jinnu is getting deprived of a lot of his experience at Golden Lane, and he's receiving tons of tower damage, which could result in tower first blood as it looks. On the same note, mid lane was worrying about getting dived under tower, because that happened already a lot of times. The flash might be up from Yuki, but Predator and Impel were both available, and World 6 could threaten with a dive on mid lane.
Yeah, it's a scary world to live in, the Skarner Predator meta that we are currently in, and it is so tough for those carries to feel safe in lane any time that this man can get anywhere near them. World 6 clearly happy to be playing this champion. He's 0-1-2 at the moment, 100% kill participation. He's got himself the Cinder Hulk completed. Where will his next target be?
Right here, I'm taking a look at Road of Ages, and you're playing versus Vladimir and Skarner. That's the two people you need to worry about in the laning phase. I can't really understand why would you opt for that item. Like Abyssal Mask gives you so much better resistances, so much better laning phase, and it's one of the core items for Galio, so I don't really see why not. But on the same note, we have talked about win condition of LGD being that Galio will be able to apply the magic damage needed, so OMG cannot rush armor. So I think that has part to do with that decision, although I'm still questioning it.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think the fact that the team does need some magic damage to come down does mean that we see the Galio, despite being put behind, forced onto this slightly more aggressive item than perhaps he would have gone for otherwise. Meanwhile, we do see the Herald popped in top lane. OMG did a decent bit of damage to the top lane turret, but I think that we might see our first turret breaking down top lane. Meanwhile, World 6 looking for some damage on the bot lane. He's not going to find an Impale onto FDY just yet, though, as the turret falls in top.
Oh, that's really good for LGD, because the top lane tower was hanging by a thread.
Whoa.
The bot lane tower too, and their sole way of getting that tower first blood gold was by using that Rift Herald that Amy got on as a solo effort, and using it on top side where Ziyang was not able to defend without his flash. So great call, they grab that tower first blood, it's a 1-for-1 trade in the end, and they are gonna lose the dragon too, but you know what? They did not really feel like they were strong enough to go for the dragon anyway, so that's the best trade they could get.
Yet another pause, experiencing some technical issues here in the LPL studio. Obviously, fair amount of nerves here for OMG and for LGD. These two teams who are currently 6th in their respective groups, they need to pick up a win here today if they want to find themselves with any chance of pushing towards the playoffs as we get nearer the end of the split, Bliss.
We have understood that this is a game of vital importance for both teams. I mean, it seems like the team that is gonna lose is not really gonna have the best of chances, probably almost 0 chances, because right here with a total of 19 games, if you get to 9 losses, your best case scenario is barely 50% win rate, and that is by winning against everyone in the other group, which of course is going to be a nightmare for both of those teams that are middle of the pack.
And that's the situation both teams find themselves in this game. They've both got 8 losses to their names already. This would be the 9th were they to lose today. We do see LGD have the 3 wins in comparison to OMG's 2, just based on the number of games played. But getting that 9th loss, it could be the killer of anyone's season.
In the end of this match, one of these teams is going to be sitting on 9 losses, and that would basically mean that they need a miracle to advance to playoffs. So today is a little bit of a finals for them. This is a really important game for both teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if they studied and prepared for it as it was finals.
I'm sure this will be a game of crucial importance to both of these teams. They both come off losses at the end of week 6. We saw LGD going down to World Elite. They lost 2-1 in that series, while OMG lost to JD Gaming 2-0. So at the very least, LGD at least took a game in their series last week to give them a bit of confidence coming into this match against OMG.
Judging by what we've seen already in this match, I would say LGD really have their minds onto their win condition. They're trying to sustain through the early game with chasing objectives, going for the tower first blood. They are using what they have really, really good. Just because of how I saw the Rift Hero, I think that was great macro play from LGD. On the same note, it does feel like Yuki is pretty weak right now. Like this Galio pick doesn't really seem to work, especially his global control. He hasn't been able to help either top lane or bot lane, so he has been a simple laner with Aftershock and Rod of Ages, which of course doesn't synergize the best possible way. And if that was not enough, you have a Vladimir against you that is gonna scale with that gold generating Remnant of Watchers, which is a ticking bomb. Pretty much.
It is a ticking time bomb. We've also got that Infernal Dragon that's already been taken by the side of OMG, inflating their statistics even more in terms of the damage that they can outpour. As more dragons come on the table as well, will that Skarner and his portals he has to give him sort of boosts around the map help them to gain extra control around the Dragon Pit?
Right here, it's double dragon for OMG, and really starting to worry about how they plan to shut down Tristana later on, because there is really no need for OMG to go in and try to go for Ezreal, dive in the backline, try to make flashy plays. Right here, OMG will be very benefited by playing a 5 versus 5 fight with frontline protecting the backline, simply out-damaging the Ezreal with a Tristana that will be shooting so much damage through that Galio with a Rod of Ages. He's definitely not ready to accept the damage of a Tristana or soak it. And you know what? Like, all that crowd control they got with Sejuani, Galio, Braum, it's not really gonna find that backline. Not a Tristana. Not when you can be thrown back with your taunt up. You cannot really do something like that if you're Galio.
It feels like PYL on Braum is going to have to make some significant plays. This is the man, of course, who has been with LGD almost since the very beginning. I believe 2012 he joined the team before they even made it into the LPL when they were still trying to qualify. He got his team qualified. He's stuck with them ever since. And right now with that Braum pick, his ability to get his Glacial Fissure down, he's got to be one of the main creative forces in this team.
Basically, LGD's win condition right here is Fiora's ability to split push. Gnar will barely be able to keep her away from towers, but if they play around here, if they manage to get Fiora in a leading position that cannot really be stopped 1 versus 1, and then they do have the wave clear, like Ezreal, Galio both have tools to keep minions away from their base in a 4 versus 5 situation or a 4 versus 4 situation where Fiora will be shining 1 versus 1. This is a win condition of LGD. Of course, a Baron destroys that win condition. You cannot possibly turtle in 8.4 against a team that has Tristana. That's impossible. It can't be done. So the win condition of LGD is make Fiora a huge threat to OMG, let her shine in split pushing scenarios 1 versus 1, and deprive that hand of Baron from the team of OMG. For that to happen, they need a strong mid game. They need vision control around that Baron, and they need Galio to be strong so they can dive that backline.
Let's see if LGD can make that happen. We talked about how important this game is for these two teams. Well, coming up on our broadcast very shortly, we're going to be bringing you the game of Suning Gaming taking on Bilibili Gaming. They're two teams who currently lie both in 4th place in Group A and Group B, and a win for both those teams will help them feel even more secure that they're going to have a chance of getting into playoffs, but will also push them further ahead of these two teams.
They're the teams that are basically in the way of LGD and OMG and playoffs. Because right here, every team that wants to advance to playoffs does not really care for the loss that they're giving their opponents. They care about their opposition not doing well. So right here, the only thing they can do is win their games and hope for the contenders of the same group to fail on their own mission. So right here, I would say they're pretty stressed. LGD has not really been on a positive side of this LPL split. Like, LGD hasn't really taken too many significant wins, even most of their losses have been 2-0. And in general, they have shown a lot of weakness and not too much ability to threaten the high teams. And OMG on the other side, they're a team that is carrying one of the strongest names in LPL, and they're not really playing according to the power of that name.
The true shot barrage comes through. It cancels
We're back.
World 6's recall. Unfortunately, it does not come through in time to take away this Ocean Dragon for OMG. And as you rightly predicted, the second dragon goes in favour of the team from Group A.
It feels good. It feels so good to be back after that pause.
It feels...
I think we have analyzed basically the entire split pace of both teams. Like, every route they could take, we discussed a bit about.
We certainly have, but one thing we haven't discussed, Bliss, is just what a pause like that does for the mentality of these players. You've got people here who are in a really important do-or-die sort of situation in these games. They've just had a roughly 5-minute pause, time to think about what's happening where they can't really communicate with their teams. What does that do to your head?
That's funny, really. Good thing that you asked, because a lot of teams have really hard time coping with those poses, and what is basically done to the teams is that they forget about summoner spell cooldowns, they forget what's missing, what was just used, they forget about the power, the health bars of their opponents, the tempo they had, and they are not allowed to talk with their teammates while on pause. Oh, PYL.
There we go. Chilling smite down onto PYL. There's the impale. Galio comes in with a knock-up, trying to get his support to safety. But there is Icon on the back line. He destroys the Braum, and PYL is sent back to the fountain with the grey screen. This is going to mean the final outer turret going to OMG.
This is the power of concentration during a pause, because we do see OMG being very concentrated, completely on sync one with another, and LGD were not really understanding what was the threat right there. So that is basically what can happen just because of the pause. You forget the threats that are close to you, you forget who is missing on Fog of War, you forget what you should be worrying about at that particular moment, just because of how old the memory is of that previous seconds. And right here PYL dies because of it. But luckily for him, Ziyang.
Amy with the gnar into the wall, gets gnarred into the wall, and Xiang will be able to escape from the two-man gank in bot lane. You were talking about how important it was to remember summoner spells. Well, during that pause, most of the summoner spells were actually up. I don't think anything was burned apart from a smite coming out of the pause. However, now we can see that both Yuki and PYL are flashless, and PYL missing his exhaust as well.
Again, funny that you mentioned that, because when teams pause, when a game is paused, there's actually a bug that the summoner spells keep ticking, and they clock on your user interface, but they're still on cooldown, of course. So right now, what we're seeing as on cooldown and what is not an actual representation of the truth.
Fair enough. Well, as I was talking about PYL summoner spells, FDY got caught out by Icon, almost got burned to the ground by the Vladimir, burned both his flash and his heal to escape, and only just managed it.
Right here, LGD feels like they're losing quite a few inches in their own jungle, like especially in the bot side of the jungle. You do see an entire south quadrant being warded with OMG vision. And of course, like when you're playing as a Fiora, when Genu has the split boost on that bot side of the map, he needs to be aware of being flanked by a teleport. Basically, you need to worry about Ziyang popping right behind you, abusing that frozen mallet when it's up, and getting the best of you, or you can actually worry about a quick Predator run from World 6, or even a teleport switch from Icon and TP behind you. So that vision is very deadly to split push synergy.
So with the items we've got in the game at the moment, Alex, we've got the Infinity Edge Static Shiv completed for Trist, whereas Ezreal's got the Trinity Force, a pickaxe, and a tier. Just what does this mean for the power spikes the teams are hitting?
That's basically expected, because you do know Ezreal is practically inexistent before he has his Muramana. That's his #1 power spike. Before that, you don't see too much. And luckily for him, it's going to be hitting along with Trinity Force. So both power spikes will be completed together. That's a shifting power that not a lot of players can calculate. So one moment you receive 200 damage Mystic shots from FDY, and next moment, before you know it, you're receiving 600 damage. So yeah, you need to be very careful. You need to respect that sudden power spike. And if you're playing Ezreal, if you are FDY right now and you're seeing your own team being 2,000 gold plus behind, you actually need to take advantage of that power spike and try to surprise someone with the sudden shift in power.
So just as we were talking about the pickaxe, that gets merged into the tier. We've got the Muramana up. It's going to be the Mana Moon, coming into Muramana very, very shortly. On the other side, we see Yuki. He's got that Rod of Ages almost completely stacked at the 21-minute mark. He's also picked himself up a Morello. So is this sort of almost full AP build just as a result of the lack of magic damage LGD have had that you've talked about so many times?
Well, I think it's part of the decision right here that full AP is basically a one-way street. You don't have another option. You can go full tank, be really good in the mid game, and then you're simply gonna get outscaled by Vladimir that destroys everyone in the LGD lineup, and you will not be able to do half as much. So Morello Nomicon being what applies grievous wounds for the team of LGD. Of course, that's gonna hurt Vladimir. It's gonna hurt Chelly in the heavy late game, and I think that's pretty much it. But also a pretty good item, since it now applies magic penetration. It's really good for the mid game.
The game has slowed down very slightly and it's becoming all about vision. OMG managed to secure enough vision to pick up a second Ocean Dragon of the game. And we are going to see the smite away, and I believe World 6 took that one away from Amy.
Right here, OMG are choking LGD away from their own jungle resources. They're not taking Raptors, they're not taking Wolves. Everything's taken away from them, and worst possible scenario is that they can actually burst that Baron. If for any reason that Baron is left without vision, Tristana can shred through it like it's nothing. So they have to respect it. Oh, there it is, PYL getting caught.
5 going pretty deep, but not as deep as Chelly, who jumps in, gets for the flash out, not enough to save him from FDY. Shocking pick up for the side of LGD. They will not have predicted getting this one. Icon does manage to get a pretty big heal. He's burning down FDY, but I don't think he's going to have the damage to pick up a kill. It's going to be Yuki who takes down the opposition mid laner. Jinu is going to flash over the wall. World 6 is going to be the next to drop. And LGD just turned this game on its head. This is going to possibly be a Baron for them.
That was a disaster. Ziyang did not even bother to be there. He thought that most of his teammates are going to go away and survive. But right now, it's too late. There's no smite to try and contest that. There's no ability for OMG to try and fight them away from the Baron, negate that effort. Right here, they give 3 kills away and the Baron buff.
Chelly jumps in.
Absolutely insane mistake. Just look at Chelly. He jumps in, bloodthirsty. He flashes back to avoid the Winter's Bite, but Amy with an absolutely beautiful flank destroys OMG, who only have one way to run back from. Right here, the TP comes. They need that backup. Amy just keeps World 6 pinned down, and Jinu is right there with a fleet footwork. There's absolutely nowhere for him to go, and Yuki makes it even easier, even faster, so they can take advantage of the death timers and reward themselves with Hand of Baron.
I cannot compliment Amy's positioning enough. So often we talk about a whiff Sejuani ult. Well, that one was right on the money, and it means Baron for all 5 members of LGD.
That's way too serious of a mistake. Like, this might change everything now, because Jinu did not really have the ability to beat Ziyang yet. I mean, Frozen Mallet was the power spike that would give Ziyang the upper hand and the ability to abuse that 1 versus 1 split push matchup. But now Genu has the Trinity Force movement speed. He has Hand of Baron to make shoving even better, and that 1 kill he just got actually gives him a slight edge in terms of power, even in the 1 versus 1 scenario.
Alrighty, so now OMG find themselves needing to stall out this Baron buff. They are still 1 turret in the lead over the side of LGD. However, with Baron empowered minions coming into the mid lane, this outer turret probably not long for the world.
Nah, absolutely not. Right here, OMG's only chance is a hard engage because there's absolutely no wave clear that can keep them away. There's the hard engage.
Here we go. Galio is going to go in with the ultimate. However, that gets cancelled. And now we see the damage coming out of Chelly, who's picked up a kill onto Fiora. The chase is going to continue. Rocket jump forward from Chelly. This rocket jump is significantly better than the most recent one. Chelly looking for more and more damage. Not going to be able to get any static shift procs onto the fleeing LGD. But from sieging an outer turret in mid, LGD find themselves about to lose an inner.
Correct approach right there from the team of OMG. They know that only hard engage can save them when the wave clear is not good enough. But when you have champions that lack wave clear, they shine in other attributes of the game. One of those is hard engage with the Skarna and the ability to follow up with Vladimir. Oh my god!
5 stays too long under turret, goes down to FDY, who is now throwing out those 600 damage mystic shots you were talking about, Bliss. He picks up his 2nd kill of the game. We do see LGD losing their inner mid lane turret, but they defend the inhibitor.
And Muramana power spike even got us by surprise. That amount of burst is definitely something we did not expect. 5 did not expect that either. He didn't have Unbreakable Will. He doesn't really have a Ninja Tabi or any form of armor, and he got shredded through like he is a Tristana. That was way too fast of a burst, and if that happens, then right here OMG need to basically reassess their ability to soak and tank the burst of FDY.
I'm not sure if we'll get it, Alex, but I'd love to see a replay of what happened at that inner turret, how the fight broke out. I'm not 100% sure, but it felt like LGD were engaging under the turret when all they needed to do was poke down the objective.
Yeah, basically that's exactly what happened. LGD felt their ability to defend that was enough. I don't know, that was definitely wrong assessment of the situation. LGD knew that they're lacking in numbers. They knew that they were pretty happy by delaying that Baron buff, and they got greedy, basically. Instead of taking what was given to them, making use of that Hand of Baron time being thrown away, they got greedy for more, and they paid for it with their tower. We have a lot of tower damage of the inhibitor one.
There really was, yeah. We have got a 4th dragon of the game spawning. OMG so far taking all of the neutral objectives apart from the... Well, they've taken all the bot side neutral objectives, every single dragon. LGD have taken all the top side objectives, though, with the Herald and the Baron.
Alright, so we almost see the Zhonya's Hourglass being completed for Yuki. This is going to be a really strong objective because he can dive that backline without being bursted by Tristana. He can dodge that bomb that will be on him. He can actually dodge the Hemoplague and actually not let Icon...
Chinu already using the riposte and is going to drop down. Ezreal manages to secure the dragon, but a fight is breaking down in the dragon pit, and Amy is not going to be getting away this time. Xiang picking up his 1st kill of the game, and now with 2 members dead on LGD, will they be able to defend their base?
LGD actually sacrificed their own jungler for the Mountain Drake, and yeah, there you are. You have 10% more damage to the objectives, but you have to defend 5 versus 3. How much damage is that gonna cost to your inhibitor tower? What is that gonna mean for your inhibitor? You have an 80% crit strike Chelly against you on Tristana. Say goodbye to your inhibitor and maybe the mid game, because right here one more mistake could be enough for OMG to end the game. LGD need to be very careful of how they tread.
Inhibitor drops in the mid lane. Icon takes down the inner turret in the top lane, and everything goes beautifully for the side of OMG. They find themselves 3,000 gold ahead.
You know what, Greyhart? This is the first time I do see Remnant of the Watchers on the mid lane pay off. All the previous executions were not really resulting in a win, and that is changing with Icon showing us how that gold generation item is changing everything, as he's sitting 4 items power spike while we do see Yuki still sitting on his third one.
And it doesn't hurt that Vladimir has got that 50 CS lead over his lane opponent.
Yeah, he does. And in the end of the day, it's also a result because of the vision control. Oh, Gino, he jumps over.
He does, and he gets joined by Yuki, and they take down Zhang together. Now we see the fight breaking out. 5 is going pretty low, but that's a tanky Alistar. PYL not as tanky on the Braum. The flash from Chelly dodges the Glacial Fissure. Going to be able to pick up 1 kill. Going to be able to rocket jump over. Clear out a ward, nothing else. But with Ezreal topside, that was a fight that LGD could not afford to take.
And Chelly must be the unluckiest person in the world, because he actually had Braum 4 times in a row with 0 critical strike. With 80% critical chance on him and 0 criticals. Damn, like, Chelly, you need a lucky charm.
Someone give me some quick math on that one. What are the chances with that much crit not to land a crit in 4 shots? Baron is started up very briefly by World 6, but now it looks like the side of OMG are looking for a potential pick. Maybe onto Amy before they want to start up the big purple worm.
OMG get this one in the bag. They don't really want to risk that 50-50 smite against Amy. They need the proper tools to zone them away. The Buster Shot might be enough, but the TP is being baited right behind them.
Fiora with the teleport. PYL is on top of 5, but he flashes the wall. This does mean, however, that World 6 is in a lot of trouble. Icon pulls himself away, but it's World 6 who drops first. Jinu picks up the kill onto the jungler of OMG. The fight still breaking out. True Shot Barrage goes through Chelly, drops him down to half health. 5 still low. Icon still low. Yuki still low. PYL still low. Everybody's low, but nobody else is dying. Just the jungler of LGD.
That was a properly played negation of Baron by LGD, because they negate the Baron, they throw them off the Baron pit, they make great use of that teleport by picking up a kill, and they do not get greedy for more. They do not risk their entire game
teleport.
A fight that could cost them the second Baron. Now there is the teleport. LGD are basically grouping again, and they need to take advantage of that 10 seconds death timer, because World 6 is their only chance of securing Baron.
PYL, who used that Unseal Spellbook to swap out for a teleport just before that fight, joined in the perfect position. He, however, now, without that teleport up and having himself at low health, does mean that the side of LGD aren't able to start the Baron up just yet.
Have in mind that we have seen plays in the past with Unsealed Spellbook users recalling and coming back with teleport and smite when their jugglers are dead. And on top of that, even if you don't actually get to outsmite your opponents, when you're 5 versus 4, or when the enemy team is tanking the Baron, they are in a moment of weakness that you can take advantage of. And LGD are not really feeling in the mood to risk that, and I can't really blame them.
Well, what I will tell you is that FDY's Ezreal is well and truly online right now. 2-0 to 350 CS, Trinity Force, Blade of the Rune King, Quicksilver Sash. He's got himself the completely stacked Mirror Mana now. He's looking good. Will he be able to enable his team to pick up this first win?
Do you think he can actually out-damage Trist? Like, do you think he can actually out-damage Shelly in this game?
It depends on the duration of the fights a little bit. I feel like Chelly is just wonderful at jumping in, dealing obliterating amounts of damage really, really quickly. But if the fights are prolonged like the last couple have been, I feel like FDY can just keep poking down the side of OMG.
I think we're underestimating a little bit the crowd control that LGD can put there for FDY. Like, we were discussing in draft how strong their crowd control is. Oh, Trishut Baraz is going to provide vision. And OMG should retreat right there. They shouldn't get too greedy.
They are not retreating, though. The Baron is down to 6,000 health. PYL lands concussive blows. The damage is coming in. We're going to see a Galio ultimate channel very shortly. World 6 is going lower and lower. Baron still raining damage onto multiple targets. Yuki has to go golden to keep himself alive. He's going to try and get himself out, but the ultimate is going to be cancelled. There are low health targets with PYL going down. Though Galio picks up 2 kills. Vladimir does get 1 in return, but it's Tristana now who's starting to go big. And we do see it end up being a 2 for 2 across the board. Jungler and support of OMG traded for mid laner and ADC of LGD.
Yuki was zoning 3 people just to buy enough time for the rest of LGD, and when we thought he's just simply gonna go down, buying as much time as he needs to, he ends up getting 2 kills on his own. Let's just take a look. Everything is being used on the World 6, who is now jumping back, and now look at Yuki. He is inside 3 people. Zonius is being used. There comes the triple taunt, and we boom double bash right there. He is gonna go down, but he goes down as a hero. OMG lose that fight, but they get rewarded by a third Ocean Drake.
And that's pretty useful for them. Obviously, taking a fair amount of poke out of FDY, they're going to be able to regenerate health that little bit quicker. So much happening around this Baron. Teams starting it up and then regretting it. It feels like they'd learned their lesson, but it's not happening, Bliss.
Right here, I just want to sit back, take a quick look at the items of OMG. And the only magic resistance item we are seeing is the adaptive helm from Ziyang. So basically, we were predicting that OMG are gonna rush armor just because of the alone magic damage dealer that the LGD team has. They're having a pretty easy win condition on that team fights. Shut down Yuki and then sustain through that physical damage with your armor. And they're not making that. They're not doing that because Yuki is a monster because of the lack of magic resistance.
Yuki is absolutely doing work. We talked about it multiple times during the pauses we've had in this game, Bliss, that both of these teams have essentially, this is a really, really crucial game for their season. Well, OMG are starting up the Baron again, not waiting for any picks. They've burned it down to 6,000 health. We do see Yuki coming to join the party, but straight away 5 turns to try and block away. 2,500 health. The Baron is secured by Skarner. Here comes the fight, though. It's breaking out. Chelly uses his Buster Shot to try and push Jinu away, but now he's looking towards Yuki, who gets the taunt. Chelly is going to drop. Galio picks up the kill on Tristana, but Icon doing his best to use his Hex Tech aggressively in the background. How many members will OMG escape with the Baron on? Icon uses the Zonias, keeps himself alive. In the background, Skarner dies to the Fiora. Down goes Vladimir to Sejuani, and it's going to be 3 members dead on OMG. The other 2 do get the Baron, though.
That was so well played from LGD. They did exactly everything as they needed to. And the epitome of that fight was Jinu actually not split pushing, not coming there with a teleport. He actually moves there on foot and flanks Kelly, forcing him to jump into the
This smite was close.
Just look at this. Headbutt onto Amy, he jumps in, he threatens with a smite. They actually get it, OMG, but look at Shelly. He flashes in just because of Jinu flanking him. And right here, he's absolutely zoned away from his own team. Icon is left alone too. With their front lane not soaking any of the damage, the rest of LGD are able to focus down both Vladimir and Tristana, which of course can only end one way.
It does only end one way. And we've got 2 minutes left of this Baron buff. All the members of OMG are now alive as Icon respawns. What can they do with this push? What do they need to do, having lost the Baron buff on so many members?
Right here, it's going to be very simple. I'm not really sure how many Baron buffs they've kept.
I think they've got Zhang and 5.
One Baron buff is enough because they have Banner of Command. They can make something out of it. 5 can use it there and apply some damage. Oh, look at Yuki. Yeah. Critical strike. Hello.
He might have a Zhonya's, but that's not going to be enough to deal with Chelly's damage. Here's that banner minion we talk about.
He's full AP, and yet he tanks through most of it.
Meanwhile, Fiora's split pushing in the top lane.
Yeah, that's the win condition. They are applying pressure there, knowing OMG cannot do too much about that. So 5 needs to buff that wave. He cannot really go warding. He is the sole carrier of that Hand of Baron, and Banner of Command needs to be used on a Baron cannon. So if they don't use that, I'm not really sure why they've picked it up. Baron and Banner go together. Everyone knows that.
You got to get that Bannon minion. Meanwhile, we do see Jinu backing away from Zhang, but he does take out the inner turret in top lane, helping with the gold and bring it down to just 300 gold at 39 minutes. This game is balanced on a knife's edge, and this could be where the cutting blow comes, because we see Yuki diving in. He's landed the taunt onto World 6, but Chelly's putting some decent damage down. World 6 going low, as is 5, but there's Zhang with a massive gnar. FDY is dead, and this could mean doom for LGD. Meanwhile, though, Fiora trying to save the fight, picks up a kill onto Alistair and onto Skarner, but Tristana's going big, picking up a kill onto Braum. Icon drops to Fiora for her triple kill. Jinu is going massive in this fight, but there's Zhang. He's backing up his ADC. It's a 3 for 2 in favour of LGD, but there are so many low health members of LGD that we are going to see the fight overall. Oh, is it going to be a 3 for 3? Yuki, you've got nowhere to run.
he's canceling the recalls, and that's the most important part of the game right now. If Ziyang could magically just cancel that out, oh, he's
Bye, Yuki.
definitely gonna get a kill. Hello.
Goodbye.
He says goodbye, and that's not gonna mean the end of the inhibitor mid lane that is being hammered by minions right there. There's a banner minion too, and that means the inhibitor is being actually tested. Just take a look at what happened. There is the hero's entrance, and the Glacial Fissure is massive, but Yuki is not actually getting the best out of Chelly. He's dealing free damage. BYL is tanking most of it, but Chelly is dealing free damage again and again and again. Those auto attacks are not really stopped by anything. With Ziyang applying that slow from Frozen Mallet, Chelly has dealt so much damage that OMG managed to actually half win that fight, being so far behind in gold.
How crucial was it for OMG that FDY went down as early as he did in that fight? It feels like if he'd stayed alive just 10 seconds longer, OMG get wiped.
That is correct, because FDY is on his biggest power spike right now. He is gonna get Mercurial Scimitar over QSS, and that's the last of his power spikes, the last of his items. Right here, we do see Chelly being a full item build, and he really can go for that last item if he chooses to, by replacing Ninja Tabi, but he's much stronger.
Impale lands, and it is going to be PYL caught out. Will the side of LGD look to take a fight? There's an Elder Dragon on the table, but 5 headbutts. Jinnu to safety. Someone who's not safe right now, though, is the jungler. Amy has to flash away. 5 is so very, very low, but with the 5 versus 4 currently active for OMG, this small power play, it looks like LGD not taking the opportunity to re-engage.
Without PYL, the vision around Dragon is really not as strong. A good control ward could be enough. They're trying to pull that Elder Drake to apply some poke. They are gonna do it, but the results are not really the ones they were looking for. Elder Drake is definitely in the eyes of OMG. They have been targeting it since the beginning, but the death timer of PYL does not really seem enough for them to go for it.
There's the Predator, there's the Impale, there's the damage coming in from Chelly. Amy going lower and lower. 5 still very low from the last fight, but it's Chelly who picks up a kill onto Sejuani. Amy gets sent back to the fountain. FDY yet again getting collapsed on by Icon, who picks up the kill onto the ADC of LGD. Icon himself getting harassed now, but PYL is taking the damage from Ziyang, taking the damage from Chelly. There's another kill for Tristana. Jinnu is not going to be able to 1 versus 4. He's got the Guardian Angel, but will it be enough? No, it definitely will not. This could be the game going over to OMG.
40 seconds death timer for the team of LGD. I believe there is enough time for them to end the game. The banner minion is going to make it even easier. OMG are marching through. They do have the tankiness of Ziyang and Ward 6 to even apply more auto attacks to that towers with Chelly. Let's see what is gonna happen. It looks like the first tower is gonna go down fast enough. There's a lot of death timer right there for the team of LGD. It is gonna be game over for OMG. That is gonna start this series 1-0 against LGD.
Fantastic. One massive Predator Impale play from Skarner is all it takes for OMG to take the first game of this crucial series as they look to keep their season alive.
That was definitely very good comeback. Like, we saw OMG losing a lot of the pace of the game with that mistake on the mid game. We did see some careless dives, especially from Tristana. We did see World 6 play around Yuki, punishing him, and despite that, Yuki was really strong, so LGD were really hoping for that win. They almost got it, to be fair, and in the end, it was all decided on the ability of Chelly to out-damage Ezreal, because we did see those fights. He was absolutely amazing.
Alrighty, we'll be back for game 2 very shortly.